All right, so I started my rough painting in the last video. And I want to continue that rough painting across the whole of the image, not just focused on the most interesting details. And so that includes the hair, just kind of scrubbing it all in, getting indications of the different colors I can use. Different shapes that might be useful. So this is a fine brush. Like I said, it's like a coloring pencil brush. But I want something that's a little bit more, like more of a wet, blobby kind of brush. And so I'm going to review how you can make brushes, right? Such things can be helpful knowledge. To continue the rough painting. And maybe even before that, this is what I love about digital painting. I can make little adjustments. Like this eye just doesn't feel quite right, so I'm just going to lasso around it and then transform it. And then I can rotate it. And I can warp it and just try to place it a little bit better so it feels like it turns around the head a little bit more. Right. I can see in my history what a difference that makes between that and that. So that helps a lot. And then I can try it with the other eye too. I think I just need to tilt them down slightly or expand them, make them a little bit bigger. This is all easy to do on that rough painting stage. So I tilt it, I'll scale it. Realistic human eyes, there's 5 of them across the face and there's 1 eye width between the eyes. So I have a little bit too much space between the eyes right now, so I can close that gap. And I can play with warp. Just to get it to sit in the space a little bit better. Okay, I'm also going to pay attention to the space between the bottom of the nose and the upper lip. So that's also something I want to tweak a little bit. So I'm just going to grab those lips and I'm going to transform them. And really warp is the easiest way just to fully kind of push this stuff around. And I don't have enough on this layer yet to really affect that, but that helped a bit. Okay, so let's review how to make a brush. I like to do it on separate layers so that even if I change to Photo P, I can still create these brushes and use them. So I'm going to turn off my paint layers for now. I'll remind you of the first brush preset I made, and now I'm going to make another one. So new layer. I'm going to change my default color so it's black on white. You always design a brush which is black. And now I am going to, let's see, let me try these wet media brushes. I'm going to try to do more like a watercolor brush, like a watercolor round, which is going to be a lot denser in the middle. Again, think of dipping the brush in the tiniest amount of ink, like taking a fingerprint of the brush and then pushing its tip against the paper. What kind of shape do you want it to make? And it might be something like this, right, where it's a little bit denser on the inside. And then there's still a few flyaways, but not a lot. Okay, now I use my rectangular marquee, I select around it, and I hit Command-C. This is to copy it. Then I say File, New, and then Create, and then Paste. And then I say Edit, Define Brush Preset. And this is going to be my wet brush. And then I can play with it with brush settings. Always play with your shape dynamics. Jitter the size, turn the control to pressure, jitter the angle so that it overlaps. I'm going to play a lot with the roundness. Right, so it really fills pretty quickly. I can also play with what's called wet edges on this brush. And you'll see how that works as it kind of blends as I use it. I don't want any texture in this, but I could play with smoothing. And now I'm going to go back to my original painting. I can close both of these brush transitional files. And now I'm going to call this wet brush preset. So if I want to recreate it, I can. And I'll lock it. Then I go back to my rough painting. And now I am using this wet brush. So what does it look like? Right now it's very big. I'm going to make it around 100 pixels. 100%, or I'm going to do 75% opacity. And you'll see it gives a very different look, right? This wet brush. And that's black. So I'm going to use it with color. And it'll be the only layer that that shows, or that it's unlocked. I could also take the opacity of my base color down if I want to. Right? Sometimes that can help. You see what you want to achieve, but then lock it again. All right. So now I can be a little bit more direct as I paint. I'm going to try not to ignore other parts of the face, right? Obviously, I've been ignoring the mouth. So I want to deal with some of that. And the ear. Going to frame the eye ends, the eyes in a bit. So where are those lips? Let's see. Now, usually when I do digital paintings, I'd have music, but I can't have that on the YouTube or I get copyright issues. But if you have headphones and you just want to get into the zone with your painting, once you're on the rough painting and you have your brushes figured out, you can just get lost in it. Yeah, it's fun. It's a way of really learning real painting techniques without having to spend all the money on the materials. You've got all the paints you could ever want right here. And it's hard for everyone to just go bold with their shapes and just put down a lot of paint in the beginning. But that's what you are trying to do, so you can refine it later, right? So you see it starts to all build up. I'm going to turn that navigator back on, so I can see it kind of in the big view as I'm working. Let's see. Because I'm only at 70% opacity on this rough painting layer, if I really wanted to cover up the underpainting, I have to really scrub, to really mean it. And that gives some strong intention to the strokes. Don't be afraid of strong color. But I also like expressionist painting, so let your own taste guide you. What I love most about painting with less than 100% opacity is that every time you steal a color, from yourself or from your reference and you paint it, you're creating a new variation on that color because it's